All right.
Thanks for
You're
sharing.
great.
Okay, there you go. Crap. Okay, fixed it. Anyway, all right. Okay, empathy might. I need to make this quieter for myself. Empathy might be what. Empathy might be what prevents a war, and it's slipping from humanity quickly. So therefore, to find it today. I do think that people need to talk more about empathy generally as a species. I'm hoping that I'm trying my best to make sure that I'm uh, understanding what people are commenting and stuff like that. But finally fixed the live stream over on YouTube. So my YouTube is Mad Magic if you want to follow me over there. Okay, and I'll hopefully maybe I don't know. We'll see. This is a different type of topic generally. Um, if we have a world where we're able to be a lot gentler with other people, not just with other people, obviously with ourselves. Um, damn, that's the other thing too. We need to be having like I don't think internalized empathy is the right word, but we need to be able to like create an internal system of empathy, and then we can move forward like and then express that empathy towards other people. And the other that one makes a good point. Just mentioning like empathy is something that I have like worked on. Like I have like built it as a skill, right? Um, and it's not something that everyone has access to. Not something that also people don't want to access it. People are have been conditioned to believe that empathy is stupid, uh, and that I don't know, like having empathy for someone else is I don't know, like gives people too much or something like that. And I don't think that it has to be as costly as people imagine it to be. But that also takes, this stuff is hard, but like that also takes a lot of emotional resilience. And that emotional resilience is difficult if you don't know how to develop that. Um, and also, I'm probably gonna change, not change necessarily, but empathy. This doesn't capture all that I'm trying to say here. What I'm also trying to say is that like everybody needs to do this work. This is not a white people, black people thing. This is not a left versus right thing. This is a everybody. Like everybody, in my opinion, would be benefited by doing a little bit of this work. Um, oh, absolutely, yeah. And empathy, as you think about it, isn't universal. It can be pretty easily selective. Absolutely. As a someone just mentioned, as an ex-Christian, you weren't taught about empathy. No, I don't think that I was actually taught empathy in the church. I was taught to treat others nicely, and then like treating maybe the idea of treating others as you'd like to be treated, perhaps. But like there was such there was such a strong disconnect from like being able to feel your own body that like I think that you're just disconnected from emotions generally at that point. If you're very, 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 very deep into religion, there's a high likelihood that you are also very, 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 very emotionally disconnected from yourself, especially that high control religion. It's almost impossible for you to be involved in a high control group and to be able to be like in touch with your body. It's very difficult to do both of those things at the same time. And okay, religion empathy is pretty specific to certain types of people. Exactly. I was supposed to like rejoice with God. Like I was supposed to think that what all the things that God did, I was supposed to like rejoice with that. And I would be like, that feels pretty against my human nature to rejoice with you like separating the sheep from the goats and like destroying half the population, or probably more than half the population because they didn't worship you good enough. Like, ooh, ooh. Polyamorous Jerry, how is empathy going to solve anything? I don't think that empathy is a solution. Empathy is a tool that I believe is required on the path of making any of these solutions effective. If we do not have empathy, I don't believe that we're going to be able to do what we need to come together. For example, like in order for the working class to come together, there must be like within that, like I think for example, within that there has to be a lot of empathy within like how different types of people within the working class have different experiences, for example, and they need to be able to not necessarily I guess like humility, understanding, like those types of things are required for you guys for people to come together. If you refuse to do that, it's going to be very, very, very hard to come together people with people generally. So that's what I'm saying. This is a tool that gets us to where we want to go. Okay. Forgiveness and respecting others through empathy. I appreciate that. I think that's a good idea. Um, forgiveness, like, I don't know if forgiveness is required for empathy. I'm not gonna say that it is. I think that, yeah, like I think I can have empathy for someone and like not forgive them. So I think, yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I'm gonna say that forgiveness is a requirement here because like for example, I think that when people mention like the pause, for example, and I can think of like a very practical thing, like there is a baby that is like falling from the sky, and we have to work together to catch it. I'm not gonna be like, hey, what are your opinions on abortion? As we're trying to work together to catch the baby, I'm like, do you have arms? Like, can you put your arms out to catch the baby? I'm like, okay, like that's what I care about. And then maybe later, if like we're at having a drink and we have a discussion, we're like, okay, maybe we're not gonna be good friends because we have really different opinions, and like we're probably not gonna get along very well. And that's what I'm trying to say. Um, so like we can put things aside in order for a goal and understand that these are still problems like to still work on. Not yeah. Perhaps it's shifting perspectives in some senses. Um it's like yeah, I'm trying to think about it. Like yeah, in order to like abolish um like for example, yeah, like creating a world where we see less poverty or abolishing of poverty generally, like it requires for people to like care about other people and to allow that care to like translate to behavior, and for those other types of things to not block us, like cultural societal greed, for example. Like, oh no, if you give away this thing then you won't be able to keep it for yourself. Like, so what? Like, these are things that we have been culturally conditioned to believe are like important. Like, why do we need to acquire wealth? Like massive amounts of wealth. Enough for like being able to survive as a person. Fair. But like those other types of drives that we have, I think a lot are just yeah, are culturally ingrained into us. But if we can start to maybe culturally like inoculate our culture with a little bit more empathy, like I'm curious. I'm curious as to what would happen. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know exactly what this is going to look like. I don't have the answers. But I'm really curious. I'm really curious, and I imagine that empathy is far more powerful than people imagine it to be. But we don't we don't exactly know. We don't know how to access it because we will. I think that's probably a lie. It's that we do know how to access it, but we're kind of conditioned to. Actually, that's a lie. No, I lied. I lied. Uh, but yeah, and I also wanted to mention some of the. Let me let me see what his name. Oh, damn it! I need to look this up on a different. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's yeah. I think it's Menachem or Menachem. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, but I just finished reading his book, and I don't think that it's perfect, and I don't like all of it, but I do like a lot. There's a lot. He talks a lot about how important it is to like emotional processing, like dealing with emotional trauma is is essentially required for us to kind of figure out racialized stress in our country. Intergalactic. I do. I actually want to heal intergalactic trauma. I am an intergalactic coach, therapist, and I'm here to help you transit. Never mind. Anyway, um, but yeah, so a lot of his book really kind of talks about how like racially healing is going to require like real emotional effort. Um, and I think that our society has gone in the direction of like building intellectual information about racism. And I think that that is a problem. Like that doesn't, I guess it's not a, I don't, it's not that it's a problem necessarily. It's just that I don't think that it will fix everything. Um, yeah, yeah, there's that. But yeah, okay, oopsie, oopsie. I'll say it again. Um, so essentially the whole book is about, yeah, being able to process this type of trauma emotionally. And like I said, I don't think that that's everything, but that is a really important piece here. Because if people understand, like why do I feel afraid? Like why do I feel afraid when I see someone who doesn't look like me and they look really different? Like why do I feel that way? It's not because you're bad. Like if you okay, like I need people to understand this. If you're a white person, right? Let's say you're a white person, you were raised in the South and you like knew one black person your entire life and were taught culturally that these were like bad people or something like that. Like you're not an evil person if you walk down the street and you like see a black person and your body does something. Like that does not make you evil. I think people need to understand that. But what that means, like, but is that something that you want to like it doesn't also have to be something that continues forever. Like your body does not have to always respond like that to another person, especially if you don't want it to. And you have to be willing to do the work. And if you say, I have this response and I don't care, then I'm like, okay, then I might have opinions about you as a person. Then I might start having opinions about you as a person. But if you're like, okay, I have these feelings and I'm like curious about how to like I don't know, be less bigoted towards another person, like that takes effort. Yeah, it takes effort. And in order to do that, it requires like emotion and like presence and feeling, like actually feeling your body in order to kind of teach your brain that these assessments that it's made like are maybe not as valuable as your culture has taught you. And I hope that that makes sense. And these things can be easily shifted. Easily is an interesting word. They can be shifted. It takes effort, like intentional effort. Um, but yeah, and I also will say this because this is true for a lot of different types of people. Um, and then this also goes for like if you are a black person and who has like you might have like opinions about yourself, like deep rooted biases, even against yourself that impact the way that that you move through the world. Like that's that's a thing. I'm not gonna say that you should keep it. Like I'm not gonna say that that's going to benefit you to keep that necessarily. I would suggest that you navigate through that and you like allow for that feeling to work through you and see kind of what that turns into. Oftentimes, emotions are stuck like in a process, and what we're feeling isn't like the end of the emotion, especially if you're someone who has a lot of emotional tension. V. Dowell says, why should we have empathy for others? What is your justification for humans having empathy? Because you're human. It's a part of your species. That's literally it. My justification. It's not even a justification, I guess. Yeah, what's the justification for being cold? Yeah, it's being an animal. Animals feel empathy. That's it. Um, for example, and I would say that these are different. I am not going to say that a dog is experiencing empathy set like sensationally, experientially in the same way as humans. I won't say that because I don't know what the dog's experience is. But have you seen those videos of like a dog whose owner like has an ankle injury and is like on crutches and the dog will like walk around limping? Like I'm not saying that that's the exact experience of humans empathy, but it's another creature being able to recognize that there's something going on with this other creature that I live with, and it's affecting me in a sense. Like it's a little whisper of that in us. So I don't think that it's okay. So I'll say that I think that we're human, and I also think that culturally we have been like I think that we've been robbed. Like we've been robbed culturally of like our emotional power, of our like empathy and these types of things, our compassion for other people. We're taught that these are like weaker things. Um, yeah, these are weaker things, and I don't think that that is like I don't think that that's true. Yeah, I work with guys who actively hurt animals and take joy in it. That happens for a lot of reasons. I would say like I would say that um, it's uncommon, very, very, very uncommon for like a human to feel that way. Typically, would have to happen based off of some type of difference in like neurology development or trauma. Those are the reasons why a person is going to feel that way. Because most of the time, hurting another, like even another animal or another human, like is gonna affect your body, like it's gonna affect you. Um, yeah, that's why and this is just something that I've learned from other people, like I've heard from other people who said this, so take it with a grain of salt, but like people who are like green berets and marines and stuff like that, some of the ones who have to do a lot of the unaliving are going to be people who are not going to care as much about that after they leave. You know what I mean? Like there are some people who just either trauma, just trauma genetics, like things like that, their neurology, they just are less affected by things like someone's crying in front of them and nothing happens inside of them. They just nothing, just nothing, which is peculiar. That is not typical for humans. Um, oh, absolutely. Tony C. Absolutely. Good God. Oh God. Yeah. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. So I would say that like if someone wants the opposite, so V Dowell says, what if someone wants the opposite? Like if you're saying that like if there's a human who like wants every human to like be slowly on a like be eaten to death by ants or something like that, painfully. Like you want that for every human. Like that's a person. I'm gonna pretty safely say that that is very atypical for our species. The majority of individuals in our species are empathetic naturally. It is rare for people to not be empathetic. Yes. Yeah. Who's that? Yeah, your testosterone should not impact your ability to be empathetic. Um, empathy is so broad. You can have empathy for the wrong thing. I like. I don't. How are you using the word empathy? So like, I guess I can kind of. Yeah, Fort Bragg. All right. Yeah. Um, but yeah. if you want to cultivate empathy, don't join the military. I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck. And there are people that I know that have gotten out of it that are like kind people, like, and I've also heard people that are I I don't have any nice things to say about them at all. Like, yeah. Anyway, so like people can empathize with horrible people's actions. I agree. I agree. And I think that we need to have empathy for all people, right? And that's kind of maybe and I definitely would prefer like having empathy for the maybe disadvantaged, um, structurally harmed, um, you know, this is sometimes I can't, what's that called? I can't have, what's that called? Some of my Christianese that still comes out in there, but like the least of these, like being able to have compassion for the least of these, I feel like is where that's important. And I think that it creates a little bit of a better world because psychic hygiene says you can't have empathy for all people. I agree. Um, like for example, when we're talking about like uniting the working class in order to like not, you know, see the 1% like go away. Yeah, you would be, you would definitely prefer the, um, okay, so like you can have an empathetic perspective of all people and then still make a decision based on that, I guess is kind of what I'm saying. Like you could say, you know what, it would be a pretty big bummer for you to have $10 million and to lose $10 million. That would be really, really hard. Um, and then to like understand that, and then to also be like, and you got that $10 million based off of a lot of exploitation, and I'm gonna have empathy for the people that you exploited as well. And you know what I mean? I feel like it just needs to be complete. We need to look at the entire picture, the entire story. Like, yeah, it sucks for you to lose your $10 million. It really does. And it also really, really sucks for for the millions of people that you exploited to get here. It really sucks for them. You know what I'm saying? I think we can do both. And then we can say, like, yeah, I can have empathy. Like, this must be really hard for you. Thanks for the money, so we can distribute that to people who need it. You know, religious extremism entails empathy, and I would love for you to explain yourself. Um, yeah, empathy almost. I would say that's it's the almost naturally goes there. Because I'm sure there are plenty of people who are like, oh no, the stock crashed and you lost your yacht. Oh no, like okay, I'm clearly not going to feel as bad for you as I am for the person who's like they had 6 cents and were like living in a tent and their tent blew away. I'm like, bruh, like that fucking sucks. Like that, like your life is like over. Like you know what I mean? Isn't that crazy? That's like that literally describes our country. Like, isn't that crazy? um, humans must have boundaries. I agree. Psychic hygiene. I agree with that for sure. Um, it's hard to be empathetic when modern society makes it so easy to be self-sufficient. It does. How? How? Where? Yeah, where? Okay, that was bizarre. Um, like it's not free to be self-sufficient, for example. Like you can't go into the woods and like build yourself a home. You can't do that for free. If I'm yeah, someone could please correct me if I'm wrong, but either you're building it on someone's property and like you're gonna pay them rent or something like that, or you bought land somewhere else. Like Our country's not just going to let you build a structure somewhere. They will, for example, they will, they literally they'd be destroying homeless encampments all the time. Remember that? Michael Steinberg says, "What about mental and cultural divides? Please tell me more. What about them? I would like to know more. What are you talking about?" Um, yeah, psychic hygiene. I agree with based communist. I don't agree with those definitions. Um, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's gonna be very impossible for you to like that's what I'm saying. Like it's not even free to like go. It's not free to go to the fucking river and fish and get a fish for yourself to eat it. That's not free. I do think that it's free to forage, for example, and maybe in some places it's free to forage. Um, but it's not easy. Yeah. So I agree. Yeah, not everyone is from the same background or has the same intellectual capacity, and I believe that empathy is required to have community with those people as well. I believe that yeah, I don't think that's I think I'm hoping that these people those individuals feel included. Um, you wouldn't want to eat out of the river in the first place. When you're fucking starving, hey, you're gonna eat out of anything. Yeah, yeah. Empathy is, and like I can even explain it, right? Okay. Compassion is one of my favorite things. So here, compassion uh, is is the capacity for an individual to recognize suffering in an individual, and then have the feelings to then kind of do something about that. Like in my opinion, compassion is an action verb. It requires you to do something. And like I said, I have a lot of Christianese like in my brain. Like there's a verse that says like, but when Jesus like this is when Jesus was separating the fish, or whatever. It does say like when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion for them. Like he wasn't just like, huh, hmm, that stinks. Like he was like, oh shit, these people are hungry. I gotta feed them. Like that is compassion. Compassion is an action word. Empathy is just the ability to understand another person's emotions, like what another person is feeling and going through. It's a willingness to either, I would say, like physically feel what this person's feeling, like mentally understand what this person is feeling. And then I would also say that it is also the ability to like be present with another person in their suffering. So like a person is really sad or something like that, and you're not saying, I'm gonna fix your sadness and take your sadness away. You're just saying, I'm here with you in your sadness. It's okay that you're sad. I'm not gonna try to fix your sadness. Your sadness is okay because it's here, it's what's here right now. So let's just be here with the sadness. That's really hard to do, by the way. This is really hard. And then Mercy says, my empathy is slowly turning into apathy. It's too much, man. Take a break. Take a break. Turn it off. Like it's okay. It's okay to need a break for a little bit. Turn it off. Give yourself some time. We're not all superheroes. Superman, woman, super they. I don't know. Super zaddy. We're not all that. Sometimes all you can do is just show up. You know. Uh, but let yourself rest. If you're finding that being empathetic is draining you, rest. That's a good sign. Your body's probably letting you know that you're tired. Um, but yeah, that is such a real thing. Empathy turning into apathy after enough time. It feels bad. Yeah. And compassion is acting upon empathy. Boom. I like that. That's perfect. Because it does require like compassion requires like, huh, that must stink for that other person. That must be pretty bad. Yeah. And so like for example, I think that having compassion is important to, for example, like care about like trans stuff, like trans legislation. Like if you're not like compassionate, it's going to be hard for you Yeah, if you're like that person's not even going in through anything, like it's stupid, they're not suffering, then you're gonna have a hard time caring about any of that. But if you're able to recognize, like, oh, that person must be going through something difficult, it's hard. Bree, it's like 2 in the afternoon. What time is it where you are? Where are you in the world? Goodness gracious. Um, but yeah, and this also is like this is not over. Like, what else? What else can empathy do? What are the limits? I don't know quite yet. I don't know yet. All I know is that it seems to be important. Oh, you're on a night schedule. Okay. All right. Damn. Thank you, Bailey. But yeah. Oh crap. I keep oopsie. All right. There's this other person on YouTube who I've been watching recently, and they're like a socialist type thing. But um he's like talking a lot about like, getting involved and advocacy and blah 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 and all that stuff, and has a lot of good, like, talks a lot about like plans and action steps and stuff like that. And I think that um yeah, I'm not trying to like lead a, I don't know, coalition or anything like that, but I think starting a conversation and, like I said, innocuous, how, like inoculating the culture and trying to see what could happen if we prioritized empathy and connection a little bit more. Um, and I think that that's one of the things this year that I'm focusing on is just connection with other people. Yeah, we need other people. We need each other. And there's a lot of things, obviously, that are not nice about the world right now. Fair. And we have choices. We are pretty powerless, and also we have some power, right? It's being able to kind of rest in this place of like a bunch of contradictions and move anyway. Um, but yeah, and also Bree, sorry that your family sucks. That's annoying. Good God. I would say threaten them back, but with, like, I don't know, Satanism or something. Tell them that you're gonna curse them. I'm sure that'll work. Or tell them that you already did curse them, and that if you go back into the church, it's gonna like activate the curse. I'm sure that'll work. um, no, but I think that like when people ask like, "Can I pray for you? Can I pray for you?" I'm gonna be like, "No, can I pray for you?" And then start doing like some type of like satanic chant. Um, I've never done that, but I want to. I want to do that in public. That'd be amazing. They probably cry and like need to get exercised. So just toss it back on them. Toss it back onto them. If they make you uncomfortable, make them uncomfortable. All right. But yeah, so if you want to see a kinder world, it needs to start with us. Start with empathy. There's always, and like I know that we're tired, right? And there's always stuff. There's always stuff to do. There's always work to do, like internally. Um, so if we ever feel, oh no, we can't do anything, blah, oh no, the world's whatever. Be the change that you want to see. Do it yourself. That's really our only options here. Do it yourself and see how many friends you can convince. That's I think that is kind of it. Yeah, see how many friends you can convince. All right, dudes, dudettes, dudays. Everyone's involved. Everyone's included. We're calling it for the day. I think I've got. Hello, Ron. I've got sometime tomorrow, so I will be back, and we'll probably be keeping this conversation for a little bit because it's interesting. oh, check out my Discord server if you want to, and my YouTube channel, where